great. Thank you, Mitchell, for the introduction. And thanks to all of you for having me back here. I think we just had a meeting very much like this in December when we got together. I think we were in Dutchess this year. Yeah, and the way this community works together between the councils is fantastic to see. One thing that it helps me as MLA, I want to put it into perspective for you. In Calgary, there are 26 MLAs who have one council. In Edmonton, they've got 20 MLAs who have one council. In rural Alberta, it's one MLA for 26 councils, or thereabouts. And I'm almost not kidding. I know Nate Horner has the most councils that he represents, but we, of course, have Brooks, Newell, Bassano, Dutchess, Rosemary, multiple hamlets. I also have Redcliffe and Medicine Hat. And then Grasslands, Christ the Redeemer, Medicine Hat, Public Medicine Hat, Catholic, Prairie Rose, Francophone, and, of course, the EID, which I think is sometimes a entity and jurisdiction unto itself. So as you can see, there's a lot of issues that come forward. And what I like about being here is it puts them all into one nice package, so I know what my lobbying agenda is going to be for the next year as we go through our budget process. And I can tell you that all of our representatives have done an amazing job of elevating issues in the community so that we can address them. So I want to thank Arnold Dirksen and Mayor John Petrie for joining us. I wish Martin Long was here today. If he was, I would give him some credit for being an incredible advocate on addressing the issue of zebra mussels. He has been part of a committee task force. We just put out a report in December. And as you may have seen last year, we found 15 boats that had zebra mussels in them. And if you've seen what zebra mussels could potentially do to pipes in our irrigation system, we do not want the zebra mussels in our communities. So we have increased the fines massively, again, on recommendations and advocacy done by Martin and others who are involved in that committee. And we have more work to do on that. I should mention with John, talk about advocates. Part of what I took away last year is that they were proposing a policy that wasn't actually allowed under the Municipal Government Act, so I had to change the Municipal Government Act to make sure that the staggered property tax regime that was proposed was something that not only Brooks could do, but also other communities can do. So thanks, John, for your leadership on that. Also an incredible advocate for the Brooks High School, or Junior High School, and I know that there's another major project in this community that John will continue to advocate for with the Catholic Board, to make sure that we get that also addressed. I should mention with Arno, we've worked together on so many projects this year. I feel like you're one of my co-MLA, so thank you for the work that you're doing there. CDC South, I think, is going to be extraordinary. In the past, it was responsible, I believe, for creating 54 different seed varieties for potatoes, so I can't wait to see what happens as it continues to develop. The JBS road access, I think we've got one more little piece with the Eastern Irrigation District that I'm hoping to be able to resolve today, and then we'll be able to get that road built. And then we've been working as well on trying to improve the access at the marina and boat launch, because again, we've got various private players there. And I think Arno's done an amazing job of helping to try to get to the finish line. So maybe next year we'll have an update on that. And then I enjoyed the riding one day as a tourist, and Arno was my tour guide. So we went to Dinosaur Provincial Park, and I got to see John Ware's cabin, took a tour of the aqueduct, and went to Kimbrook Campground, which came back and stayed at, went out on Lake Newell to do some amazing fishing, and then of course had a delicious grass-fed beef dinner at Gemstone Ranch. And so when you talk about tourism being one of the growth areas, I can tell you, experiencing the area as a tourist, I think that you have a real opportunity with all of the different events that are happening over the course of the next year. It's not just Rotary, we're also hosting the G7, and then of course again, which has 10,000 delegates coming to it, by the way, and then on top of that, we have the Calgary Stampede occurring, which last year had the largest number of visitors that they've ever seen. So that's, I think, another opportunity for the region. So let me just try to give you an update as well from my perspective on some of the other things that we've worked on as a province. Talking about the most pressing issues and some of the exciting opportunities ahead, from housing to agriculture to healthcare to education, rural policing, as well as our recent legislative session and our vision for 2025. I think this is always a great moment to take stock of where we are and where we're going in 2025. And of course, one of the most critical challenges facing Alberta, and indeed much of Canada, is ensuring that everyone has access to housing that's affordable. We understand the unique needs of rural communities and the importance of tailoring solutions to meet those needs. Our government's committed to ensuring Albertans with low income have access to safe, stable, and affordable housing that meets their needs. Since 2019, we've invested nearly $850 million to build over 5,100 units and nearly 900 shelter spaces across Alberta. That's part of a $9 billion plan that we will invest in by 2030. So there's more opportunity for us to do more on that front. Alberta is leading the country on per capita housing starts, which is an important statistic for our rapidly growing population. Provincially, we are seeing a 35% year-over-year increase in housing starts, and I think John was able to give specific numbers for Brooks, which is extraordinary, but I can say that we're seeing that in other communities in southern Alberta. Lethbridge, because they keep the data kind of at the mid-sized city level, and in Lethbridge, the year-over-year increase was 219% year-over-year increase. So there are more and more people looking at southern Alberta as a real opportunity to put down roots, start a business, and build a life. In addition, we're working to develop partnerships and build capacity within an affordable housing system. We're focused on finding creative and innovative solutions to encourage new investments in housing, and Brooks is a shining example of that. Our government will continue to support housing partners to make sure we go from permits issued to shovels ready and in the ground quickly through new initiatives like our Stop Housing Delays portal. So we launched a portal so people could self-report the kind of challenges that they're facing. Sometimes the challenges are provincial, sometimes they're municipal, and we want to work with our municipal partners to make sure that we're removing any of those delays so that we can get homes built faster. And I think it's working. The fact that we have made such progress year over year, where other provinces like Ontario and British Columbia are not able, even though they've got great demand, have not been able to see the same kind of increases. I think that's a real success here. The investments and support we're providing give stability for families, supports for seniors, and opportunities for young professionals to put down roots in their community. Another investment that will provide stability and encouragement for individuals and families is healthcare. Healthcare remains a cornerstone of our government's commitment to Albertans. It's our largest area of spending. Last year, our budget was $29 billion of our overall $73 billion budget, to give you some context to how much money we spend on healthcare. And I'll tell you some of the exciting developments, I think, that we have in this area. To address staffing challenges and strengthen programs to attract and retain physicians, we're increasing the number of physicians trained in the province, specifically in southern Alberta. We'll be starting a program to train 50 physicians in Lethbridge University, as well as 50 in Grand Prairie, with the idea that if we train doctors in southern Alberta, they will stay in southern Alberta. We know that students who learn in rural areas are more likely to practice in rural areas. That's advice that we got from the Alberta Medical Association, so we're very happy to see that program when it gets up and running. Since January 2024, 31 new physicians have joined South Zone, accessing healthcare, increasing healthcare access for residents of Brooks and beyond. We're also expanding opportunities for nurse practitioners to practice in their full scope of medicine. We launched Alberta's Nurse Practitioner Primary Care Program in April, and we've already seen significant uptake. We've had 67 applications received, with 56 approved, and 33 nurse practitioners now practicing independently across the province. It's a pretty fast movement for a brand new program. Of those, 7 nurse practitioners are in the South Zone, including one right here in Brooks, helping to ensure residents have timely and effective access to the primary care that we need. Our nurse practitioner program enhances accessibility and flexibility to Albertans to allow nurse practitioners to practice either as their own independent practice or join existing practices where they are required to maintain a panel of at least 900 patients and then provide after-hours care and accept walk-ins. So about 60 of those nurse practitioners set up practices. That's 60,000 Albertans that will get access to primary care. So you can see that each individual added is going to make a big difference. So it's just one example of how our government is committed to exploring innovative programs to meet the healthcare needs of Albertans. We also have established Primary Care Alberta, a key pillar of Alberta's refocused healthcare system. And the immediate priority of the new agency is to ensure that every single Albertan is attached to a family practice, whether that is a primary care doctor, team practice, or nurse practitioner, no matter where they live. By supporting integrated teams of family physicians, nurse practitioners, and pharmacists, PCA aims to provide patients with the best possible care while reducing pressure on the broader overall system. We announced the doctor deal in mid-December. It's going to be implemented in April. As well, we've begun to see pharmacies expand primary care access, including the first one with Shoppers Drug Mart opening up in Brooks. And then the second one, there was another one that opened up in Medicine Hat. There's 103 of those that are going to be developed across the province. So that combination of factors should give patients another door to enter to be able to get the care they need rather than driving everything to the hospital. So primary care is part of a broader transformation of Alberta's health system into an integrated model with 4 provincial health agencies. So Primary Care Alberta 1, Recovery Alberta is another, Acute Care Alberta is a 3rd, and then Assisted Living Alberta is the 4th. These 4 agencies will create a unified and modern health system that prioritizes patients and frontline healthcare professionals. It'll ensure that we have operational planning and clinical service delivery coordinated as well as responsive to Albertans' needs. With Recovery Alberta in particular, we officially launched operations September 1st. We are focused on delivering mental health and addiction treatment. When it's fully up and running, we will add 1,000 new addiction and mental health beds. So think about that. That means that that is a separate service provision to take that patient load off of our acute care hospitals. That's part of the reason we're setting up a separate entity. The new agency ensures strategic planning and resource allocation for over 10,000 staff in health services, including 1,650 psychiatric beds, 1,350 additional addiction detox and treatment beds, and we provide 4,800 individuals in provincial correction facilities with addiction treatment as well through our therapeutic living units. The establishment of Recovery Alberta is a significant milestone in improving the patient experience across the continuum of care, including prevention, intervention, treatment, and importantly, recovery. As you know, we believe that recovery is possible, which is why we've promised 11 recovery communities to help Albertans who battle this disease of addiction. 3 of them are already open, 1 in Lethbridge, 1 in Red Deer, 1 in Gunn, and others are at various stages of development, including recovery communities in partnership, Blood Tribe, Siksika Nation, and Tsuut'ina. And I should say, we're finally beginning to see some results of all of this investment that we've been working on for the past 5 years. We've seen a year-over-year decrease in opioid deaths of 53% when you look at this period from last year to this period this year. Whereas in British Columbia, it's only come down about 7%. And now British Columbia is now looking at us to be able to replicate our model. The next step will be compassionate intervention. There are some hardcore addicts where the only way they're going to get well is if they get ordered into treatment. So that will be something that we'll be working on in the new year. Acute Care Alberta is also going to push forward with the Alberta Surgical Initiative. This is the 3rd agency to continue increasing the number of surgeries performed in both hospitals and publicly funded charter surgical centers. That ensures that Alberta can receive the surgeries that they need sooner. We've allocated $313 million over 3 years. We're funding 10 projects to add, expand, upgrade, and maintain operating rooms across the province, and that includes the renovation of surgical suites in Brooks and Medicine Hat, helping to reduce wait times and improve health outcomes for patients. John and Arno both mentioned the meeting that we had with doctors before the end of the year, and so that is going to be part of a rural health facility review that Adriana LaGrange is about to begin. We have 82 rural facilities, and sadly they've fallen into disrepair. I think she told me that there's been something like $12 million spent on renovations in those 12 facilities, or in those 82 facilities in the last 10 years. So you can imagine there's a lot of deferred maintenance. And so one of the things that we'll do is an inventory of what needs to be fixed, an inventory of what equipment needs to be put into those hospitals, and make sure that we have the proper sterilization equipment so that doctors aren't having to throw away implements and instruments after they've finished their surgery. So there will be much work to be done on that. We want to make sure that every individual is able to get the majority of the health care that they need close to home and only have to go to the larger centers when it's going to be something that only can be provided by the specialists in those communities. So that's the objective, and I look forward to, since this is becoming our annual, look forward to coming back next year and telling you a bit more about our progress. Specifically as well, the Brooks Health Center has been earmarked for expansion, renovation, and optimization of its surgical facilities to address capacity challenges. The last agency is Assisted Living Alberta, and I'm looking forward to working with municipal partners as well as nonprofits on how we can expand out our assisted living. This is one of the 4th pillars, and the reason we have a separate entity is what we've discovered is that there are a lot of beds in hospital that are acute care beds, which is our most expensive level of care, $2,500 per day, that are occupied by people who would be better served in long-term or assisted living facilities. So that will be under the purview of Jason Nixon. We believe we're about 3,500 beds short right now. We think we need to build about 12,000 beds by 2030. And I heard that there were a few developers in the room. We look forward to partnering with you on figuring out how we can get a funding model that makes sense to be able to accelerate that construction. So there'll be more to say on that, but that was a bit of a work in process over the last year to be able to get to that point for that agency to be stood up. All of this work on refocusing our health system was made possible through extensive engagement with Albertans. Their input has been absolutely essential in creating this new approach. And we're serving more people now than ever as our population continues to grow. A growing population, of course, means a growing number of students, and we have a responsibility to ensure that every child has access to high-quality education. Our current budget is $9.3 billion for our K-12 education system, and we know that we're going to see an incredible continued growth in the number of students, and we have to make sure that those students have access to high-quality education. We're facing historic levels of student enrollment increase, which is why we announced our School Construction Accelerator program in September. We'll be investing $8.6 billion to create more than 200,000 new and modernized school spaces between now and 2030. And starting in budget 2025, we will fast track up to 30 new schools and as many as 8 modernizations and replacement school projects every year for the next 3 years. We have put this ambitious program in place to address the fastest growing communities, modernize aging infrastructure in rural Alberta, and expand choice. As you've heard, work has already begun on the replacement of Brooks Junior High School, so thank you to the council, the trustees, as well as the city council for advocating so well for that. When it is completed, it will welcome 720 students in grades 7 to 9 and add a modern learning environment for students in the Grassland Schools Division. Of course, I'll have more to say next year about the ask of the Christ of the Redeemer, but I did do a tour of that school, and point well made, so thank you for taking me through that. It is packed to the rafters. And I also look forward to further developments with schools in our area in the years to come, and again, we couldn't do this without the collaboration with our municipal partners. What we told our municipalities is if you get the land ready, you get it zoned properly, you get it serviced properly, then we'll be there with the priority list of the schools. And so we don't want to be slave to an arbitrary schedule for construction. We want to be able to build as the need arises. In addition to the accelerator program, we also recognize the importance of preparing students for future workforce demands. We're supporting collegiate schools, dual credit schools to allow students to explore career pathways, gain hands-on experience, and pursue advanced learning in trades and technologies. One fabulous example is the Southern Alberta Flight Academy in Dunmore, which provides students the opportunity to learn about careers in aviation, including while completing their high school education, and also be able to get their pilot's license along the way, learn about aircraft maintenance, and even build an airplane, which is amazing. I had the opportunity to spend some time with their partner, Super T Aviation in Medicine Hat, and together they're helping to propel Alberta further into the aviation space by giving the students the education and opportunities they need. And they're looking at expanding this really unique partnership with other school districts across the province. I'm very excited about that. I'm proud of the work we've done to support youth to ensure they can pursue their dreams and realize their ambitions. In early February, I was pleased as well to announce, along with John, $150,000 of government investment in Brooks Global Village Center's John Ware Youth Empowerment Program. The program provides newcomer youth with essential career training, networking opportunities, and resources, helping them to pursue life and career goals. And then, of course, they partner with local leaders and businesses to ensure that we're building community connections and finding opportunities to thrive. And I think the video John showed is a testament to the kind of work that's being done there. Additionally, the program is developing a Train the Trainer toolkit to expand its reach to other rural communities across Alberta, including and to ensure the positive impact is felt beyond the borders of Brooks. Through these investments in education infrastructure, mental health, career preparation, and community programs, Alberta's government is ensuring that every student has the opportunity to succeed in a supportive and innovative learning environment. And this is particularly important as the skills requirements change in our growing economy. It's especially important in regions like Brooks, where agriculture, energy, and small business are the driving forces of growth. And who knows, maybe an AI data center. I think John is absolutely right. The confluence of gas and power and water and broadband internet access is essential for the siting of these kinds of locations. And I think our region is perfectly situated to be able to attract some of that growth. If you saw the Kevin O'Leary announcement, he's looking at a massive campus that would be a $70 billion investment. Now that would be huge, but these are big investments. Rocky View County has one that they're proposing for $2.5 billion, one in Foothills County for $1 billion. So even the smaller data centers bring a massive amount of investment. And most of that benefit goes to the municipalities because it's the land and machinery and equipment taxes that would accrue to the city. So it's worth it to not have a not in my backyard attitude about those things. It's going to be incredibly extraordinary in helping out with the development and bringing new revenues to the cities. So from highways to irrigation systems, we're making the investments necessary to support the long-term investment of the region. Newell County, the Sano wastewater treatment upgrades, irrigation project exemplify that commitment. We've got $2.3 million in provincial funding, and it's a $7 million project that includes upgrades to the wastewater treatment facility and the addition of irrigation infrastructure supporting both environmental sustainability and agriculture productivity. I made note that there's going to be another ask coming in from Brooks about wastewater, and so thank you for putting that on my agenda. Agriculture, of course, remains the backbone of Alberta's economy, and we're committed to supporting and growing this vital sector. Through the Small Community Opportunity Program launched last November, we've provided $6 million in projects for Indigenous and small communities to build capacity in agriculture, small business, and economic development. We've distributed over $3.2 million in grants to support 43 community-led projects, and we're improving food safety changes to the Meat Inspection Act as well. These updates ensure public confidence in Alberta's food system and protects our world-class livestock industry's reputation by increasing penalties for unlawful practices and extending timelines for investigations. Alberta's agriculture societies continue to thrive thanks to $11.5 million in annual operational funding, $2.5 million as well through the Agriculture Society's Infrastructure Revitalization Program. Of course, these societies host more than 37,000 activities annually, manage 900 facilities, and strengthen communities across the province. And our agri-food processing tax credit is another vital initiative driving growth in Alberta's agriculture sector. We've already heard about JBS Foods' $90 million expansion of its beef processing facility. I think aided in part because of this 12% tax credit. It'll create 24 permanent jobs, 170 temporary construction jobs, and of course reinforce Brooks' role as a hub for Alberta's world-renowned beef industry. And finally, the Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership represents $508 million in federal provincial investment to support Alberta's agriculture and agri-food industries. So let me just say a final word here. Sorry, I see I'm running out of time, but about border security, because that's another major initiative. Incoming President Donald Trump has been very clear about his concerns about the border. And he, of course, has threatened to implement a 25% tariff on Canadian products. And we cannot take his comments lightly. He's very, very, very serious about it. I keep seeing articles saying, oh, well, maybe Alberta could get a carve-out, or maybe oil and gas can get a carve-out. But I think we need to have an approach where all of Canada gets a carve-out. We have an incredibly integrated market with the US and Canada, not just on oil and gas, but also on food products, also on manufactured products, and increasingly on every type of commodity that we provide to the US. They process it, we buy it back. We are the Americans' biggest consumer, $293 billion worth of product we buy from them. The next closest is Mexico. We blow away all of their other partners. Germany, UK, France, Italy, Vietnam combined does not buy as much from America as we do. So that's the message I'll be taking when I go to Washington in January to make sure that we continue to have that vital partnership. I think we're beginning to make some progress with our federal counterparts. Arno mentioned the issue of net zero. They finally relented and realized a net zero power grid by 2035 was not going to work, especially in provinces like Alberta. And so they have extended that timeline out to 2050. While we are grateful for that, it is still provincial jurisdiction. And so we are still going to tell them, not your business, it's our business. The other thing that we're working on, of course, is the emissions cap. Having an emissions cap by 2035 is a chaotic position to take going into America. You can't go to the US and say, we are your best friend and trading partner, buy more of our oil and gas, but by the way, we're going to shut in production by reducing the amount we can produce because of an arbitrary emissions cap. So I think we're making some progress on that, but any voices that the RMA and others can add to that, I would greatly appreciate it. But part of what we are doing in taking the president seriously, as early as the 2023 election, we spoke about the need for additional measures for border security. And we recently announced a new interdiction patrol team within the Alberta Sheriffs to crack down on drug smuggling, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, human trafficking, and other illegal activities. The team will include uniformed officers, 51 of them, support staff, drug patrol dogs, cold weather surveillance drones, and narcotics analyzers so that we can further keep Alberta safe. We've got an unmanned aerial vehicle industry that is developing in the Medicine Hat area, so we've got a number of companies who've come up forward and said I'm here to help, and a number of landowners who've said that they're here to help too. I think some of them have even offered to go on horseback and be patrolling the border on our behalf, so we're grateful for that level of buy-in, and we're going to make sure that we don't end up being a source of criminal activity that not only is terrible for our community, but also is creating an irritation with our American partners. And because the Southern Alberta community is only about 2 hours from the border, it's an important measure to take. Alberta's rural communities are an essential part of our province. We'll continue to work closely with local leaders to meet the needs. And because I see it's 9:32, I will just say that next year, looking forward to coming back and giving you more of an update. So thank you all for your attention. Thank you for the great collaboration. Looking forward to continuing the work.